Hello and welcome to episode 111 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Joining me on today's episode is Josh Mckeown, the singer, the frontman, the absolutely awesome all-round dude from the band Palm Reader. They've just released their brand new album Sleepless, and honestly it's just top Deftones for me for album of the year, and I don't say that lightly. From start to finish, it's an absolute masterpiece. I can't believe I've had to wait this long to hear this album, but the wait was worth it. It's absolutely astounding, and if you love bands like Black Peaks and Deftones, you're going to absolutely love Palm Reader. So I urge you all to go out there, check this band out, and honestly, you will not be disappointed. But in true typical Mark and Me fashion, I like to touch base and talk about the last episode. It was the fifth and final part of my Voice Behind the Artist specials. I was joined by one of my favourite artists there is, Paul Shipper, and the response was phenomenal. It was that good I've decided to do a whole second season which includes another 5 interviews with 5 different artists around the country because the response was amazing. We've had some amazing prizes to give away and to see the response online was amazing. So a thank you to all those people that have taken the time to listen and share it on their social media. It makes a huge difference and it's just been so good to see all these different artists getting involved, and I can't wait to give you another 5 of them. But let's talk about today. Like I said, I'm joined by Josh from Palm Reader. This band have had such an impact on me, and I think the best thing to do right now is get straight to the interview. So here's me and Josh talking all things music. Josh, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
What I want to do is take it back to the start, really. Not even before the band started, but before that, and know what were those kind of first CDs that you bought that you remember kind of helped shape the music that you love now?
Oh, wow. To be fair, I'd say before I bought anything of my own, I was brought up listening to, it was mainly my dad's taste in music, to be fair, which was sort of centered around Motown, soul and funk, that kind of
Nice
music of that ilk.
Yeah.
With some R&B thrown in there, I'm sure. Some, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. That kind of stuff. And then it was probably when I got to one of the first memories I had was being in a playground and talking to someone about a Papa Roach song.
Oh, nice.
And that was before I really knew what distorted electric guitars were.
Yeah.
Why anyone would shout. Or why music needs to be that aggressive, and then it snowballed from there. There's you like your Green Day, bits and pieces like that. I never really went like straight to metal. I think my introduction was more through new metal. So I think the first record I bought was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Not a bad foundation to start on.
No, I mean, and every now and again I'll listen to the odd track of it, and the vocals on there and the lyric writing and the melody choices, the songwriting, it's still like I feel like it's still relevant to me at least.
So at that point, obviously you're starting to get into those sort of metal bands and introduction and stuff. Did this make you at that point want to be in a band, or was it not until you went to see kind of live bands that made you get that kind of, oh fuck, I want to do this?
It was kind of around the same time. I think it all started for me in terms of thinking about being in bands or playing live music when it was my dad's 40th birthday, and I would have been 14 or 15. And there was me, 2 of my cousins, and my brother. My 2 cousins played drums and guitar. And my brother played bass, and they were like, "Oh, we'll play a few songs for Dad's 40th birthday, but we need a singer, and so you're going to have to sing." And I was like, "Well, I've never done that before, so that's not cool. Why are you just throwing me up there and like to the wolves, as it were?" And we played 2 songs, and it was White Stripes' Seven Nation Army, and The Darkness, I Believe in a Thing Called
Oh,
Love.
wow.
Yeah. Puberty hadn't hit at that point, so I Believe in a Thing Called Love was quite easy for
Yeah,
me.
you hit those high notes.
I've never seen any recordings of it. I don't even know if there are. I would dread to think. I can only imagine it was awful, but it was an introduction into playing live. There was the drummer of my friend's band was at my dad's birthday, and he said to the members of his band, "Look, I think we should give this guy a shout, and maybe he could be the singer." And that was my first band, and that's where it all started, really. And from that point, it kind of it snowballed, and I was heavily into the post hardcore kind of screamo, emo sort of stuff, and then eventually moving more into metalcore, I guess.
So can you remember some of those first gigs you went to when you got to see some of these bands live that would then kind of show you the difference of listening to it at home on CD to, wow, this is in front of me being performed?
Yeah. I mean, the first show I went to, the first proper show I went to, I'd like to call it, aside from like maybe like local band shows and bits like that, like Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. It was first proper show I went to was at the age of 15. I went to see Hell Is for Heroes at Electric Ballroom on the Neon Handshake tour.
I was at that show.
What? No way.
Yes.
So I was at this, as you look at the stage, there's the stairs on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stood on those stairs.
Amazing. That album for me is flawless. That and sort of 100 Reasons, that kind of...
Yeah, for sure.
Ruben, Hell Is for Heroes, 100 Reasons, Cable, all those bands that came along, I was like, fuck, like Neon Handshake is flawless.
Absolutely. It's still one of my like top 5 albums.
Yeah.
And, it's a shame really, because it kind of eclipses everything else they've done.
Yeah. Everything after that was just like, oh, it's not quite, I Can Climb Mountains or Night Vision or anything like. Yeah. I was just always like, it's not there, but they're amazing. When they reformed and came back for a tour, I was like, yes, this is amazing.
Did you see them at 2000 Trees when they played?
I didn't. No.
A couple of years back. Now it was almost. I don't know if it was probably around the time they were doing that tour. I don't know.
Well, they did Download the same year, and I saw them there. So they came on and did the whole of Neon Handshake, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm 17 again, or whatever." It's fucking ace.
Yeah, me and the bassist, who's also called Josh, Posh. Sorry, he uses his proper name. We were arm in arm, slightly inebriated, and just pure elation. It was unbelievable. Honestly, I've never. That was one of my favorite. Aside from actually seeing it the first time around, being my first show, that was one of my all-time favorite experiences. So shout out to 2000 Trees, because it was unbelievable. That band, that show.
So then you obviously started the band. It wasn't until 2012 you had your first EP out. Can you remember the kind of moment that you thought, this is what I want to do? It's obviously, you said there's bands that do sort of Battle of the Bands, and there's bands that are always doing, covers. But when was it that you thought, right, we're actually going to do something different? We're going to be palm reader. We're going to do something. We're going to write our own songs and try and be our own band.
Well, like I say, I joined my first band at the age of probably around 15, 16.
Yeah.
I was in that band for maybe 4 or 5 years or so, but it was going through like the whole secondary school, college period, and there was no real seriousness to it. We tried, but it was just one of those things. And that band split up. I had maybe a year or 2 outside of that thinking, okay, cool, I should probably get myself a job, think about a career, as it were. And there was nothing I could think of, nothing I wanted to do. No, higher education wasn't something for me. Still isn't, really. No. It's just the way my brain works, unfortunately. And at that point, I was like, well, I think I need to, on some level, be creating music and be stood in a room making noise with however many other individuals.
Yeah.
So I slowly, over time, it was usually on nights out, to be fair. I'd be out in the town centre in my hometown of Woking with my friends, drinking heavily, most weekends, if not all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Posh and Sam, the guitarist. And we basically we all had a very similar outlook. It was whatever's being released at this point in time isn't good enough. It isn't ticking quite every single box. Don't get me wrong, we were fans of particular bands and we were enjoying it, but it wasn't quite what we wanted to hear. So that at that point we were like, well, maybe we should try and write some songs. Maybe we should try and do like what we feel is exactly what we want to be hearing. And it just stemmed from there.
Yeah, nice.
And it wasn't, we didn't set out with any plan. We never have really had any sort of plan. We've even up till now, even with Sleepless, we're very much still just desperately trying to write the songs that we want to hear.
Yeah.
That tick every box that we have, sort of thing. And that's kind of how it started, to be fair.
Yeah, and I mean, then obviously it was only a year later you released your debut album. Now, what was the kind of pressure like for yourself? Were you not too hard on yourself? Because obviously a debut album, and I think of bands like Ruben, Race Car Backwards, and Biffy Clyro with Black and Sky, it's that legacy album that you leave there that people will go back to and kind of always compare. Did you feel that pressure in a band, or were you just like, fuck it, let's just do what we want to do and hope it goes well?
I mean, I don't know if we really saw it that way. I think even in the back of my mind, I was always thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
And thinking like, this isn't going to be it. We're going to do another one. And I mean, to be fair, that first record, it started off as an EP.
Yeah.
I think we recorded maybe sort of 4 or 5 tracks with Steve Sears. With Steve Sears and maybe like a couple of interludes, and we sort of took it back to our management at the time, and they sort of said, look, this sounds like you're about sort of 75% on your way to writing an album, so do you want to just go away, write a few more songs and put an album out? So we did, and in that time our drummer left, and we had to try and write the rest of an album and recruit a drummer and rehearse it well, basically our drummer, Dan, who's still in the band now, he joined the band about 2 to 3 weeks before we went into the studio to record Bad Weather.
No pressure.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, just nice and easy.
Just nail it, mate.
Yeah. And to be fair to him, he did.
And that's why he's still with you now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that first record for me doesn't feel like we really had a lot of time. It doesn't feel rushed, but it was, but it doesn't feel it. It didn't seem like it was really like we aimed for anything. It was like, shit, we've got to put an album out. We should probably write some songs. We essentially wrote that album so that we had something to tour with. All we were ever focused on was touring. We didn't really play a lot of shows in our hometown. That we didn't really include ourselves in the scene in our hometown either. Yeah. No disrespect to it at all. Like, we've never had any bad blood with anyone in Woking or Guildford at all. But we just desperately wanted to get out, go wherever we could, and play as many shows as possible. So writing that first record was just a very good excuse to tour non-stop. And we did.
Yeah. And obviously fast forward a few years and now we're sitting here with just about the release of Sleepless. You guys have grown, you've matured, your sound is different. I think you've progressed, and it takes a lot. Some people you'll hear, I still always see when Biffy Clyro put out an update, people are like, oh, I prefer your old stuff. I wish you'd be more, playing stuff like Jagged Snake. And it's like, yeah, but we're not going to be able to headline a festival playing stuff like that, and you guys have kind of done, I think, like, I put you on the likes of sort of Deftones and Thrice, where you've kind of evolved. Yeah. You're not just releasing the same album, sticking to your roots. I mean, the hardcore roots are still there, but you can hear the progression, and you get, every time I Google you or look at you guys, everyone always says you're like the UK Dillinger Escape Plan. Now,
Oh, mate, honestly,
You know, that for me, you must be like, well, let's just retire. You know, if someone's saying that, we're done.
I just don't. I, I can kind of understand where that like our second album for sure. I can really
Yeah,
understand where that reference has come from. But it is like of all the references, that one seems to have stuck.
yeah.
And
It's not a
I'm
bad
not
one.
against it because that band are incredible,
Yeah,
and I like it's a blessing to be able to be compared to
yeah.
even a band of that stature. It's just unbelievable. But I don't. I feel like there's a lot more to us than that, and there's a lot more to the Dillinger Escape Plan than just like sort of spazzy mathcore as
Yeah,
it's.
of course.
So
No,
yeah,
I've been lucky enough to listen to the album, and I'm not just saying this because you hear it. It's fucking awesome. You must be really proud of it.
thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say so.
Yeah, you're proud. You kind of in that stage where you're listening to it now, still thinking, "Yep, this is what we want to sound like when we go and tour. Now we're going to be putting these songs on stage."
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we've always sort of said we never want to write the same album twice, and I suppose that is just progression.
Yeah,
But it's a conscious effort to not replicate anything exactly, to not stick to any formulas necessarily, or
yeah.
um, and with this one we've tried to push it so much so that now you can't help but be proud of it. I don't think.
And
I'm
what was the
very
kind of writing process like? Because was this all prior to lockdown?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
luckily, you weren't in this situation where you're recording and doing everything over Zoom and fucking trying to wear masks and record. You did it all prior to this.
yeah, so we started writing early 2019, so like maybe March, April sort of time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always sort of fiddling around, but we started focusing on it around April, thinking we'll book some time in at the studio. We'll have plenty of time. Everything will be fine. And then we didn't have a lot of time, and the pressure and the stress mounted. And we've always done that. I think we're quite meticulous with the way that we put things together and the way
Yeah.
that we like to do things. So we always end up getting to the end and being like, oh, bollocks, we haven't done that. We really need to. But yeah, so we spent the majority of 2019 writing it.
Yeah.
The end of 2019 was the real clincher, I suppose. Everything came to a head, and then we recorded it January this year.
Luckily, with timing then.
Yeah, very, very good timing. We managed to record it, get out the studio, not think about it for a bit, go on tour with Employed to Serve at the start of March or mid-March for like 2 weeks.
And then the world went fucking mental.
Yeah, we like the last show of that tour, we had to cancel it because of COVID, but it's unbelievable. And then literally everything changed. I'm very glad that we managed to record it before this all happened.
What's it like being sat on an album for kind of 10 months? It must be difficult because you just kind of want to get it out there and just, you can tease people with singles and your video and stuff like that. But surely you're just like, look, it's done. I'm sitting on it now. Just
Oh yeah.
it,
Yeah, it's difficult, but I to be honest, I'm kind of used to it now. I think every record we've done, maybe aside from Bad Weather, it's hard. I'm struggling to remember, to be honest. But
Yeah.
aside the ones we love, for sure, and Braille, there was a massive gap between recording and releasing, like even over a year. I think one of them maybe. And so you kind of get used to just sitting on it. It's not nice because you do just because people are still judging you on your previous work when you've got this fresh offering that you just kind of want to be like, look at this. But it's tough to sit on it, but it's worth the wait. I think you use that or I personally use that frustration, that anticipation to fine tune bits and pieces. Like over lockdown, we spent a lot of time figuring out how we wanted to release it, if there was anything particularly we wanted to do. Artwork especially was really focused on. I worked closely with a really good friend of mine, Tom Johnson, to create the artwork for it. which I think I've actually got up on the. I could probably show you it.
Nice.
I've got it up, framed up on the wall there.
Oh, beautiful! Look at that.
He's a wizard with a spray can, is Tom.
That is very cool. And with the production and everything, when you listen back to it, is there anything that you're kind of you said you're proud of the sound and everything? You know where you're at now. Now, as a band that's progressed and you've never kind of just played it safe, you've not just gone, let's just do a replica of Braille or something like that. You've challenged yourself, and that's the band I love the most. That's why Thrice are one of my favourite bands, because they don't just sound like the last album. Radiohead, bands like that. Now, are you happy with your sound now, or are you already, because it's obviously been 10 months, as a band, are you progressing even further now? Are you already thinking about the next stage and how you want to now progress from Sleepless, even though it's not out yet?
I mean, I know I am.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone else. But I do know that Andy's only really, in the last sort of few weeks, maybe started writing again, because I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And to be fair to him, he does.
Yeah.
He does a lot in terms of the writing. I started writing pretty much immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
As soon as we hit lockdown, I really dug into Logic, and I was trying to hone my skills and songwriting and bass guitar and everything, and really trying to get that together. So I've already got a couple of tracks that I've got a feeling will be on number 5.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's an ongoing process all the time, and I'm kind of never. I don't like to rest on it too much and be too happy, because we've done that in the past and it's only bitten us in the arse. You get round to writing, you're like, oh bollocks, how do I write a song?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to sort of push constantly.
And as a band, I say this with full respect, you're still kind of an underground band, you're not on the front of Kerrang and stuff like that. It's not one of those bands, which is a good thing. But it feels on the outside, from watching you guys and seeing how you progress, that you're kind of on the verge of becoming that big thing. Do you know what I mean? It must be hard because you're on the inside, so you probably don't see it. But there's this feeling of the way that you're going now, and the way that you're honing in on your sound, and the way that you're growing. And I see more and more people now, and not like, who? Oh yeah, Palm Reader. A lot more people are aware of your sound, and obviously touring with big bands has helped. But does it feel from the inside that you are kind of seeing that now, and kind of hoping that you are going to take that big step?
Yeah, I mean, it's only ever in the response that you can gauge anything.
Yeah.
And people are definitely a lot more vocal now than they ever were.
Yeah.
We've always had support, but it's never been anywhere near as vocal.
Yeah.
I think Braille did a lot for that. We know that was a definite turning point for us.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where, I mean, because we've never really adhered to trends. We've only ever written songs that would, like I say, that we want to hear. So I think if you're doing that and you are sort of throwing curveballs creatively, that people aren't necessarily going. My whole thing is that if people want to listen to one particular genre, they'll find a band that does that sound, that does that thing for them, and they'll probably just stick to it. There's a lot of bands that don't do that, and I feel like those are the slow burners, like maybe Thrice as well.
Yeah.
Who have developed their sound and twisted and turns, but not through want of following trends, like certain other bands that are on front covers of wherever. It's a creative thing rather than a give me your attention thing.
That's good, man. And one thing I ask all bands, all musicians, even film stars and directors, there's a lot of people that listen to the podcast that are probably starting out a band or writing songs. And what advice do you give to those guys? Because obviously it's taken you 8 years to get to the stage of releasing Sleepless. You've had EPs, albums, toured. It's a long process, and it's not an overnight fame or success, is it? And what advice do you give to those people for getting their music heard or getting out there and making a name for themselves?
I mean, firstly, I'd say if you want to make money, don't make music.
Yeah. That's the honesty for you.
But that's not to put people off. That's just to sort of
reality.
Yeah, exactly. That if you have that in your mind and you're not out for the money, then you're at it for the right reason.
Yeah.
It's if you focus on songwriting more than anything else, and the art form of expression, then you stand in good stead to be happy with what you're doing. And that's important as well, being happy with what you're doing and being focused on what makes you happy, not what makes other people like you.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. I'd say, yeah, write the songs that you want to hear. Do what you want to do.
It's worked for you, so it's living proof.
Yeah, I guess it has.
And what's the kind of hardest thing about being in the band? Is it the touring? Is it when obviously we're not now, but when you are out there playing show after show and trying to win crowds over, or supporting other bands and trying to, convert people? Is that the challenge, or is there bits that you find really hard being away from home, or how do you what's the bits that are a struggle?
I don't know. I think because I've always loved it, and because it's always been such a prominent part of my life, everything's kind of ended up being centered around it.
Yeah.
So my work and everything is always kind of like the band will take priority, and that's helped.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, if there isn't anything, that's a good thing. If it's all positive, you're loving it, you love touring, you love playing shows, you love recording.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like there's no negatives at all. But yeah. I don't like to think about them too much. There's always a silver lining. There's always a positive in there. And at the end of the day, if I don't like it, if I hate it that much, then I'll just stop doing it.
And this year, obviously,
put myself through it. It's a very selfish endeavor.
And this year's been absolutely fucking shit. Let's be completely honest. I never got to go to 2000 Trees. I was really looking forward to that, and Download, and just gigs. I had tickets for Faith No More, and it's just that shitter, isn't it? And as a singer of a band, you must be just wanting to fucking get out there and play. You must be itching.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I didn't realize quite how cathartic singing was.
Yeah.
And how much it did for me mentally until there was. It's not because we've had breaks from touring and playing shows before, but it's when there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
There's no sort of end date. It's just, oh no, indefinitely now you're not playing shows, and when you do, they're probably not going to be anything like they were. It's just like I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me, and it really did. But we did. So what was it? Maybe 2 weeks ago now. We recorded the Sleepless album launch live stream.
Yeah.
Session, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
For my brain and for everyone else's as well. There was, the rest of the band, you could see that everyone was just so relieved to be doing what they love to do again. And the same goes for the sound guys, the monitor engineer, the cameraman, the lighting guy. Everyone involved was just relieved to be able to do that thing that they've been wanting to do.
How it's all missed, man. I just can't. I've had tickets to bands like Black Peaks, and they just keep rescheduling it, cancels and comes back and cancelled. It's like, it seems so alien now as we standing with thousands of people watching a band. It's just insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine how it's going to feel to be stood in a crowd again.
I bought tickets stupidly.
I've lost the lost the feeling in my mind. I'm like, how do we do that?
I know. I'm still buying tickets in hope, like Pearl Jam next year and stuff. I'm like, it will happen, but I'm like, will it?
Yeah.
Will it?
Yeah, I haven't been quite so optimistic. I don't think I haven't committed to any shows just yet. But yeah, fucking hell, man, what a year! Well, and it's only been 1 year yet. Well, it hasn't, has it? Jesus.
No, it's about 8 months or something like that.
Yeah. But like I say, I mean, the live streams. I mean, it's the only way that we can do things, right? It's the only way.
Lots of bands are doing it,
and I think it's a decent alternative. It gives bands also another opportunity to be creative in their outlet and how they put themselves out there. It's not just necessarily going to be like a live show on stage. You know, it's like, I mean, we purposely went away from that live show element and sort of tried to make things a bit more cinematic and a bit more moody, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I've seen a few other live streams that have been outrageous as well.
Like, I saw Biffy Clyro do one for their new album, and it was just like the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that band though, man. I mean, they've been at it for almost too long, right?
They deserve everything. Like anyone that says, "Oh, they fucking sold out and like they did all this," like no, they know what they're doing. They've toured 300 days a year for about 10 years.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I read an interview once, and I think they said, we play like 250 or 300 plus shows in 1 year minimum, and it's just like, are you mental?
but now they're headlining Download, and they're like number one. They're going, well, it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't call that selling out. I call that working hard. Like,
it's success.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today, Josh. It's nice and relaxed, nice and chilled. I do really wish you all the luck with Sleepless. I keep sitting here thinking the whole world's already heard it, but they haven't. So it's obviously not far now.
Yeah, it's really not. It does. Yeah, I know what you mean, though. Yeah, I don't know.
I really hope the world changes soon so we can see it live, get touring again. I'll share a beer with you, see you on stage and hear these songs because they're going to come to life on another level, and I just can't wait for the world to see it.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to play them live. I honestly can't. Like that, the little taster of being able to play them on that live stream. It made me realise how difficult they were and how much of a challenge I'd gave myself, because I really, really made life hard for myself. But I can't wait to play them live. It's going to be so good. It will be good.
It will be awesome when it happens. It'll be worth the wait.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to have so much whiskey.
Yeah.
God damn.
He's getting endorsements, so they just keep sending you boxes and boxes of whiskey.
Oh, no, don't. Honestly. I shifted through so many bottles of whiskey on lockdown that first time round.
It was mad because the sun was out, so I was like sitting in the garden at 11 a.m. going, oh, should I do some gardening or should I open a cider? And then 7-8 cans later, you're like, I'm just going to fucking sit in the garden all day.
Yeah, I was hammered.
Yeah, every day. Yeah. And it would be weird if I didn't have a beer by midday. I was like, oh, I'm a bit late today.
Yeah, wicked, though. So good.
It was good. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, man. I hope I get to see you at a show in the near future.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been good.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and Josh from the absolutely awesome Palm Reader. I have said it at the start of today and I'll say it again. You have to go and check out this new album, Sleepless. It's on all the sort of streaming services. Hey, go and buy a vinyl or a CD. Give this band the money they deserve. This is my album of the year. Nothing has topped it. It's absolutely phenomenal from start to finish, and you will not regret listening. Please jump on social media and let me know if you do check out this band and how much they change your life, because I guarantee they will. Also, a massive thank you to Emma for making this interview happen. You're an absolute legend and I appreciate it so, so much. If you're new to listening to Mark and Me, I urge you to go on markandme.com. On there's links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and my email. I'll always take the time to read every single tweet or Facebook comment you leave, and I'll always respond. You guys out there make this podcast worth everything it is, and it means the absolute world to me. So jump on there, let me know what you think, and I really hope you go and then enjoy the back cat of all the different guests that have been on this show. Also, I've got a Patreon page. You can sign up there for as little as £1 a month. At the moment, you're getting around 7 or 8 episodes per month, absolutely free. That's never going to change. But the money that you invest on there helps the podcast. It means I can go and do more interviews around the country, stream on all these different services like Amazon Music, Spotify, Podomatic, all of those ones, and just basically get the opportunity to do more and more interviews, which means more and more episodes for you. But not only that, I've been working with some great companies like Funko, Last Exit to Nowhere, and getting some amazing prizes for you guys out there to win. That's all I want to do, is give you this opportunity to win prizes that money can't buy. So if you go on there, sign up, it really does make a massive difference. I'll be back in a few days with a brand new episode, so until then, take care and I'll speak to you soon.
Time on our hands, one little room and the biggest of plans. The days were shaping up, frosty and bright, perfect weather to fly, perfect weather to fly. Pounding the streets where my father's feet still ring from the walls. We'd sing in the doorways or bicker and row, just figuring how we were wired inside, perfect weather to fly. So in looking to stray from the line, we decided instead we should pull out the thread that was stitching us into this tapestry vile. And why wouldn't you try, perfect weather to fly? We had the drive and time on our hands, one little room and the biggest of plans. The days were shaping up, frosty and bright, perfect weather to fly, perfect weather to fly. Out in the streets where my father's feet still ring from the walls, we'd sing in the doorways or bicker and row, just figuring how we were wired inside, perfect weather to fly. So in looking to stray from the line, we decided instead we should pull out the thread that was stitching us into the tapestry vile. And why wouldn't you try,